Hi everybody, I'm Gavin and I'm the British Bookworm. So today I'm going to review a classic book of fiction. One thing you may start to notice if you are a regular watcher is that most of the books I most of the books I read are educational, some more than fictional. So today I'm going to review a classic book that the majority of people who love reading know about and probably have read. What is that? George Orwell, Animal Farm. Now, the ironic thing about this is that it's now 2022. We've come out of 5 lockdowns essentially the last year. The year in the last 2 years, we've had 5 lockdowns. We've had a bat flu going round with a 99.92% survival rate. A 99.92 survival rate. And we've literally seen the Animal Farm being enacted on a global scale that would have been unbelievably impossible to imagine before before bat flu, before the story and lies and corruption that literally has been thrown upon, to some extent, every human being that's living on Earth. And when you read the George Orwell Animal Farm book, it's located obviously on a farm. It's separate to the farms outside of it in the main, and it's living in its own little world. The events are living in the animals' world on this farm, and the world external of it doesn't really have any significance as such. That much in the book, in the story. When you contrast the story, it's the story is written in a kid form, in a kid format. Animal Farm is written in a kid's format, but the message of it is not only terrifying, not only is it profound, but it's relevant in the extreme. And I read the book before we had lockdowns, I think, or in between. I'm not quite sure, but I knew of Animal Farm. Obviously, as a bookworm, I knew of it, and I knew the basis of it, and I know that it was a treatise against socialism, communism, Nazism, isms. It was like a thesis on, or discussing the parallels on different systems almost. But we're living in a British capital system, and it still happened. In the West, it still happened. In America, it happened. The essence of the story of a fictional explanation that was fighting a system at the time that was elsewhere became a global ideology of socially engineered control. And while I should be reviewing the book, I just find it incredible to believe that the Animal Farm literally became a reality in society. And so, while I'm not discussing directly the book of the Animal Farm story, it's implicitly linked to the last few years of, that's just 2019 December to 2022, We're just coming out of the lockdown situation and the social controls that went on, and to say that Animal Farm is almost what's the word? To read the future. It's just insane. It's insane, and I will listen to a lot of intellectuals online, and the parallels, they're just like 100%. You could pretty much say they're 100%. So you get essentially freedom fighters, moral, self-centered justifiers who promote a movement or an idea that influences the weaker, less able, intellectually capable people of analysing the more powerful people and what they say and think and feel, and their advice and direction for the rest of everybody else. And everybody toes the line. Everybody fits the line. Everyone does what they are encouraged to do. And anyone that speaks out of line of the ideas that are being imposed upon the individual characters in the fictional story will have it beaten out of them. If you do not fit into that criteria of what to say, exactly how to speak, how to feel, how to interact, then you will be placed in a socially engineered purgatory that's designed to make you feel less significant as an individual. And ultimately that's what the Animal Farm is about, is a form socialism that has this idea that it's somehow better than capitalism or other systems of social cohesion, societal cohesion. So George Orwell's Animal Farm predicted the future from the last 2 years to the next 50 years to the last 1,000 years, maybe even, humanity's predicament of the ability for positions within society to basically govern by misdirection, by misinformation, by deceit and lies, by conspiracy, to manipulate the lesser, more vulnerable, weaker-minded individuals, the less intellectual animals, or the less capable animals, then had to follow the more vicious animals and follow their guide or follow their dictatorship. And we've literally just seen that happen in the last few years. I'm not going into any subject in regards to a bat flu situation, but we've just literally seen the entire globe, and each politician that I've witnessed with my own eyes, I have literally seen Animal Farm live out. I have literally just seen it live out. And that, to be honest, and I've listened to so many people discuss this who are fairly well respected academics discuss this online, and it is terrifying. It is terrifying in the extreme that this happened on an epidemic global scale for something that was essentially harmless for 99.92% of the population. And if you take away the bat flu scenario, this shit's been going on for years and years, forever. Society is being manipulated, engineered exactly like this. This was a warning to ideologies from other places coming in and taking over a free, bespoke people, Greater Britain, America, Canada, Australia. And if we look at what happened in Australia, you people in Australia, the way you behaved over bat flu, to be honest, I have lost all respect for that country and New Zealand as well. The very fact that your politicians are being allowed to that is literally what is in this book. It's literally what was warned in this book, to watch New Zealand and Australian police literally implement that on their fellow human beings, and yet they call themselves human beings by definition. They actually felt and thought that they were doing the right thing to arrest their citizens, as police officers were arresting citizens for running outside with a facial mask off, for not wearing one. Now, the scary thing about the bat flu thing is, it literally, for me, as a person who's a nobody, it showed me that not only do 99.92% of people survive such a killer event, but also, when I use that figure, by the way, you should contrast other things out there and their survivability to contrast that. So car accidents, for example, or knife crime, or going out and exercising in a park. Those are the things you need to contrast that 99.92% with, if you don't mind me saying. So when we spit out these figures, these people that are intellectual and have actually had the capacity to think about the subject to some degree, and have the insight to literally question the authorities, the pig, the swine, and their dogma, we do contrast it. It's not like when we say those figures, the other animals are just like, they don't understand what's being said. And that's the system abusing the systems that are in place. The system is abusing the systems, the setups in society, like a communication stream on a military battlefield. It's literally using that to direct society to behave in a certain way. So we've literally seen it. I'm not making this a conspiracy theory video, and if you think, this is where I can't help myself, but if you think what I'm saying is a conspiracy theory angle, you are an idiot. You are an idiot. And I don't care what academic background you are, who you think you are academically. If you believe that shit, you are one of the animals in this book, or you are one of the dogs, or you are one of the pigs. And that is all I'm going to say to you, because there comes a time I reached where I got in seeing that society was literally socially controlled. Society has been socially developed and controlled by very sophisticated propaganda and manipulations of the human psyche. And that is just a fact. If you think society is just basically moving itself forward without any kind of infrastructure of direction, you are the conspiracy, because you are the conspiracy theorist. So within the sense of just outside, no, without we'll move out of bat flu, but you can tell where I'm going with that. You can tell how I feel about that. And reading this at the time that was happening was mind blowing. It was mind blowing to understand that George Orwell was communicating about a human condition that we just don't seem to have the capacity to step out of, where we are literally following the narratives, the catchphrases, the socially engineered opinions that mainstream media are imposing on us just to change subjects. We've seen that with the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case. Again, no disrespect, but if you believe that Amber Heard had any truth really in what she said, then again, I'm sorry, but you are by definition a dictionary idiot. And I'll say why I'm saying that, because I went into that court case and I watched every single day nearly. I've literally watched every single thing I can about that over the last 10 weeks or however long it's been going on for. I had no dog in that fight, as we say. I couldn't care less if Johnny Depp or Amber Heard won initially. And then I realised that what the imagery of the mainstream media, like nearly every subject, I don't trust the media whatsoever, alright? I despise the media. I absolutely despise mainstream media. I don't know of any journalist that goes into the mainstream. If you go into there as a journalist, you may start off with a decent ideology about chasing truth. As soon as you set your foot in the door of a corporation, you are now theirs. And unless you're willing to get sacked and be unemployable because the other corporations won't take you on for not towing the left or right line, then you aren't going to be able to have any audience except for YouTube videos, which is why the mainstream media hate YouTube. And I've gone off the George Orwell Animal Farm, but what I'm trying to communicate is with the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp example, the mainstream media, just like the pigs on this in George Orwell's Animal Farm, they are dictating the net result of a court case that proved by sound bites they are trying to redefine the result of an extremely socially significant event. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard was an extremely important social event across the Western world and to some extent the whole world. And if you don't understand that, again, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but by the definitionary dictionary, you're an idiot, because the system that we have been living in and are living in is engineered, in the example of the Johnny Depp case, to automatically believe the woman. And it has been proven by a court of law that she not only lied, but she purposefully and maliciously went for Johnny Depp. And who knows what else she planned on doing. But to explain why I'm bringing up the bat flu and the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing, is they now saying, for example, with that, they were both as abusive to each other. That's what one of the jury guys have said. No, he did not. No, he did not. The jury member did not say that. But literally, the majority of major networks are trying to impose that narrative after 6 weeks of jury, after 6 weeks of fact-finding and truth-seeking. The jury came to their own conclusion, and that was that Amber Heard was a malicious liar, a vindictive, narcissistic cunt, right? And that she has just basically tried to demean every single woman out there. She has demeaned and made less significant the abuse of every single woman that's been abused. That cunt, narcissistic bitch, has literally laughed in the face of every woman that has been domestically violently abused, and that is utterly sickening. And how any mainstream media of whatsoever degree can stand up or even implicate Johnny Depp as being part of that equation, a part of that yin and yang scenario, that shows you the scumbaggery of the mainstream media. And I despise you in the mainstream media. And the propaganda wings that go on in society is all over the place. And this is why The Animal Farm should be read. Again, like my last book, this is one of those books every person with a bit of intelligence should read. The Animal Farm and 1984. We literally are living in that surreal reality. We are living in a reality where we are having our minds controlled by subtleties of manipulations and variables of sound bites and variables of imagery with every turn of our phone, with every watching of a movie. Hollywood manipulates our thoughts and feelings. And again, if you think that I am being a conspiracy theorist or an Alex Jones, you are an idiot. And I'm saying that not in the sense of idiot in a disrespectful way. I'm saying it as a dictionary definition of what an idiot terminology, the word idiot means, not as an insult, but a factual description of you and your emotional intelligence and intellectual ability to see societal doctrines and societal manifestations of the consciousness. You probably don't even know what I mean. You're probably not even understanding what I'm saying. So the animal farm, it gets me riled up, this, as you can probably see. If all the books so far, you've probably not seen me angry yet. The animal farm thing is such a tragic, it's so tragic that we are depicted in a kid's story. That human beings are being depicted in a childlike story. That you know, I mean, you could say that's a stupid thing to say, totally irrelevant, but it's almost it's what we deserve, because the 99.92% survivability of a flu or a disease, it's almost ironic that I would put the definition of that figure on the intellectual capacity of the majority of the population. That is like 0.8% of society actually think with their own minds and assess the actual truth that they're seeing before them. And that, my friends, is the animal farm. That is what we've just literally seen. We've just literally seen, breathed it, and lived it. So when I say I'm doing a book review, I don't necessarily need to describe the detailed stories of the fictional story, The Animal Farm, by George Orwell. What I will say to you, though, is if you read it and look at the last 2 years, if you go out and read it now, you'll be like, holy shit. Wow. George Orwell. Seriously, he was like a prophet. That's the word I've been looking for as I do this video. He was like a prophet, nearly. Do you know, to think that the few human beings that are out there that have the capacity to think outside the socially, massively manipulated masses, and it's terrifying that the Socrates, the Platos, the Galileos, the individual minds of the population that could potentially revolutionize and impact society overwhelmingly profoundly for the better, are the ones who end up getting persecuted when they cross a line that doesn't actually exist. And that line is meant to keep you down. That line is meant to keep you in your place. If you're told you're working class, that is linguistic wordiology to place you in a position where you are no longer meant to step further out and become anything more than that. And there will be people who say, well, that's not true. You know, such and such a person I know was working class and now they are a chief executive officer of a company. Do you really think that's a viable story? It might be. There might be examples of that. If you're black and you're living in a ghetto, yes, you can progress out of there. Of course you can. But I mean, as a person, as a person that, you know, hasn't lived in those scenarios, I can't speak for that. But I know that in each little dogma, not each little dogma, in each demographic area, we're all imposed on certain rules of society. Because of the dickheads in society are all fucking like lemons, following it without stepping out, without reading this book, without understanding, not after just reading it, because you're told to read it when you're at high school as a study. You read it as a study, and the idea is you read it because it's telling you to think for yourself. Think for yourself. So you'll get an English class and it'll be like, right, children, today we're going to study the George Orwell. Let's open it. Sandra, would you like to start chapter 1? Crack on. Then they come together and they're like, are we really going to teach those children what that really tells you? What this book is communicating in a society with mobile phones, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and the rest? Can we really say that we are learning when it's like only 0.8% of the population? Seem to me the ones that, you know, that think for themselves are the ones that are persecuted, the ones that are able or have the potential to try and transform the world to a greater good, are the ones that are squashed down. The mainstream media are a huge element of that. I'm going to finish this, but go and look up what happens with Julian Assange. Sadly, I'm not getting involved in this discussion, but Julian Assange is someone I feel so sorry for on a profound level, right? You can come at this from different levels of angles, but I've watched the background stories of that, the fake rape allegations that got him into the position he's in now, where they have now access to do whatever they want with him, all because he put his foot out, he's put his neck out to try to get the truth out there about crimes that a country has done. That's why. And they are lying if you believe what they are telling you or why he's been persecuted. Fucking ask yourself questions. Don't just turn on the telly and go, because that's what literally everyone does. Think about it. Go online and do some flipping research. But George Orwell, the situation with Julian Assange perfectly fits into that narrative as well. And the whole system fits into that narrative. And if you think, on a light note, if you like George Orwell, if you relate to what I'm saying, write below and tell me what you think about it. You tell me what you think about the last few years. Do you see it interlinking with the story of the Animal Farm? 5 out of 5 for the George Orwell Animal Farm book, fiction, story. But the greatest joke of it, or it is, ladies and gentlemen, is it isn't fiction, it's real. And every time I go outside into society, since the lockdowns, since C19, since the propaganda, since all the lies, which are just overwhelmingly, like the lies and the deceit by the political elite, the World Health Organization, the lies of the CDC, the NIH, the ability to go out there and try to operate is like literally I've just been abused for 2 years on a deeply psychological level. But the question is, how long is it going to go on for? And how long has it been going on for? Was it going on before the television? Was it going on when the radio started? It's an interesting question, isn't it? But certainly now, we must know the story of the Animal Farm and the consequences of not taking a responsibility within ourselves to understand, as free individuals, as free individual human beings, we must ask questions at every single stage of our lives, of the political systems at work, of the culture wars, community issues at work. And we must avoid identity politics. We must avoid associating ourselves with one system over another system when the truth and the correct solutions are not necessarily on one agenda or another. It is just right for the majority as such. We're living in to finish off, we're living in a time where literally what was true is now a lie. Everything has been upside down, turned over on its head, and you could argue that that was prophesized. But anyway, if you like this video, if you relate to what I'm saying, if you relate to what I'm communicating, what I feel about it, give us a comment and a like. Subscribe to the Bookworm channel if you are a bookie person. And that's it, guys. So, a bit of a shitty one really, but the George Orwell Animal Farm book is superb, fantastic book, and I hope that this book review, if you haven't read it, gets you to go and buy it. It's only a cheap book. Go out and buy it, have a look at it, read it, and just connect the dots, because it's little books like this, by one person at a time, can change the world. Because once we step out of that mass control, the powers that we have, once we understand that we can't be frightened anymore, we have to be what we are destined to become. I'll see you later.